kids are far more capable than a lot of parents give them credit for. And once you get that understanding, and I got a lot of it from teaching for 10 years, I'm like, wow, these kids can really go a lot higher than what we think they can, but we're not putting the carrot high enough for them to go chase. So in my plan, how can I push them? What can I do on a daily to maximize those 24 hours that we get? Because I don't care if you're Beyonce or you're the bum up under the bridge, you get 24 hours. You don't get 25, you don't get 27. You can't buy no more, you can't borrow no more. 24. So for me, I started developing my plan down to the day. What does a day look like? So if you can get your plan in the big picture, health-wise, faith-wise, physicality-wise, education-wise, in the big picture, what you want them to accomplish, then you can start filling in. And there's something that I didn't have. Chat GPT, people. You can go in there, you can type in Chat GPT. I would like my child to become a doctor when they are 26 years old, and they'll give you a plan.
That's a fact. That's very true. Yeah.
I didn't have that. Yeah. I was doing this off of, the strength.
Right.
I was figuring it out. But now you have this tool that you need to use. So I said all that to say this. Use Chat GPT. Figure out what it is that you want your child to do in those areas. Make sure you put all of the areas you want. Faith, what they're eating health-wise, physical-wise, education-wise, and the big picture. What do you want them to accomplish? And I believe so many people fear making that choice for their kid. But you gonna make the choice of them going to school every day? They hate school. They might like their friends at school, but they don't like being in a situation where they're away from their parents all day. They're having to sit there and listen to someone talk about some information that they probably don't like. There's no way that they love school. So if you love your child, you should help them figure out a way to utilize school. That's my spiel about, really developing the plan is, really hitting all of the components, those main components that I spoke of, and using Chat GPT or other resources that can help you break down a true plan. And Chat GPT can do it in like 15 seconds. Nah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, that's a fact. Nah, bro, we got a tradition on this podcast. When somebody does what you just did, which is like spit facts, we just give it a second, bro. Give it a second because everybody's listening. And I feel like, bro, you just said so much, bro. And I really don't want to just dive into the next thing. I want people to really take in what you said and like write notes or whatever the case may be, whatever they doing. Because, bro, that is really fire. Like what you talked about, the way I think about it is you developed a holistic plan, like a holistic blueprint for how you would approach parenting your kids from spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, social, and the financial, right? Like those 6 different aspects. And so like, if they take what you said, look at what they want their kids to do, right? And combine that into a holistic plan, like golden. Honestly, golden, bro. Like, so really, man, shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you.
And
like,
just to kind of bring that home for them.
Yeah.
When you get ready to build a house, you get your blueprint and then you build your foundation. So it's the same thing. Before you conceive the child,
right,
you got to have your blueprint. Get your blueprint, build your foundation, use bricks,
right,
and build.
Right, man.
And make sure you got somebody that ain't taking the bricks
and stashing them somewhere else.
Stashing them somewhere else instead of helping you build.
Oh, nah, but that's part of the plan. You picked the right partner. That's a big part. That's a big part of the plan, yeah.
And I got a second chance at that. So that's why I'm speaking to that part. It's funny, but man, you don't really know who you have until kids are involved. And so just a little side note on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know single mothers get a real stigma out there in the dating market.
Yeah.
But I believe if you find a woman with a child, you can see how she is as a parent. You kind of get a cheat code. So my last child, shout out to his mother, which is my fiance. She had a son already. So I watched her as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yes, she can do what I would want from a mother with my child. So we had a child together.
Right.
And I believe that's the dynamics that people are skipping over. And a lot of times you say, well, you know, if I get a woman that doesn't have any kids, I can teach her or this or that. She's probably going to be mostly like her mother. So now you got to figure out how was her mother. And that takes research. And a lot of people don't like research.
Oftentimes on social media, we hear the complete opposite. Like we hear fellas talking about, she got a child, you got to run, or I'm not dealing with it, whatever the case may be. And what your perspective is no, if she has a child, that's actually an opportunity for you to learn more about the type of mother she could potentially be for the child that you guys could potentially have. And I haven't heard anybody on social media say that. So we definitely gonna post that and just let the brothers know, like, yo, bro, there's nothing wrong with a single mom. Honestly, I know at least, I know a few single moms that I'm not gonna lie, like they're great women. You know, like
getting passed over because they have a child instead of being put to the front because of what type of mother they are to that child. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but we want to have kids because it's in us, most men, to continue our legacy.
Right.
And leave our mark on this world. But if you don't have the right partner, it makes it very difficult. Not impossible, but very difficult.
Right.
Because I don't believe in big words that are just thrown around like impossible. Yeah. Anything is possible. No, they put too many letters on there. That's true. I am possible.
For sure.
You know, it's just a stigma that's out there that if you really talk to men who have vetted women that have children or a child, in my situation, I was willing to have a woman with one child. You can ask yourself what you're willing to have. You don't have to pick the woman with 7 kids. I'm telling you, you can do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, if she got 7 kids and all 7 of her kids are entrepreneurs and they all millionaires or this or that, now what you gonna say?
Right.
You know, so
yeah, it's a whole different story.
It all comes down to understanding rather than just taking the general knowledge.
Right.
Because there's a lot of general knowledge that is bullcrap.
Yeah, right. Nah, there's also a lot of nuance, right? Like everybody's situation is different. The children, like how does their upbringing look like? Like what's happening in the home? Is she good? Like there's a lot of nuance to it. You can't, like for me personally, I guess everybody has their own preferences, right? But if I was in the dating market, I wouldn't be passing up single moms at this age because I'm like, yo, bro, like at the end of the day, that's a person. There is a lot that I don't know about. Just because I know about this one thing doesn't mean that that's it. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like for a lot of men, it's probably like a pride and ego thing, not wanting to take care of somebody else's child, and then also not wanting to have to deal with the potential of another man in the home and not wanting to share that. And so I feel like that's what drives a lot of the conversation of like, nah, I'm not even gonna deal with that. But I feel like if there's a healthy co-parenting relationship between the two and you're coming in and they already know what it is, they have boundaries set and everything is straight, like why not? You know what I'm saying? But everybody's different. Absolutely. I'm not gonna knock somebody for it. But I wanted to ask, I want to pivot a little bit, bro, because you own a business, right? You're a content creator, you do speaking, you do a lot. And you wear a lot of different hats, and obviously you're the provider of your home, right? But I know as a provider, there can be a lot of pressure and stress that comes with that, right? So I wanted to ask you, how do you navigate that? And I also wanted to talk to you about how you went from teaching to this, because I know you said you wanted to spend more time with your kids and all that kind of stuff. So how did you make that transition? What was that like? And how did you still balance being a father throughout that? And the stress that comes with now also being like the provider and like making sure that you're present.
So I would start with saying, in order to pivot into your potential, you have to put yourself out there. So for me, I didn't like social media
Okay.
Here I am, I'm a content creator. I won BET Most Inspiring Instagram back in 2015.
Love it.
And I didn't even like social media. My first ever social media was in college.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends made me a MySpace. And he's like, yo, bro, it's done. Like, this what you do. And I was like, man, this is stupid. You talking to somebody on the computer.
Right.
And most of the time they were talking to each other. Like, it was just blowing me away. Like, they're literally right over there.
Right.
I was a bold individual. I'd get up and go talk to the girl.
Right.
Rather than I'm going to type on here like, oh, you look pretty over there or something. Like, I wasn't into that.
Right.
I had never sent the email when I came to college. Like, I was not on the whole wave of what the future was. But, big but, I was willing to put myself out there. And I had the MySpace, then Facebook. Then there was a student in my class that told me, Mr. Rivera, you should get an Instagram. And I was like, I don't want that. I already don't like having to log on to different platforms and, post things. I'm like, I'm good. I got the Facebook. I'm good. MySpace died. All I got is Facebook. I'm good. And that student was about 2 years early before I actually got an Instagram. But that young lady, she saw stuff that I didn't see.
Right.
She was telling me without telling me, like, yo, what you're doing in this classroom, the world needs to see. Not just these 25 students every period that you have, because you're doing something that ain't normal. And I was more like, y'all tell them then.
Where?
And there wasn't, really people that were filming in class and sharing. So I was one of the first educators that was bold enough to be filming stuff in my classroom and to be posting things of students doing things. And the reason why I was so bold is because I was teaching at Pitbull School and they had already signed the waiver.
Oh, word.
All of the students had to sign a media release on the first day of school because we had so many things going on at the school. They didn't have time to do a media release right before they accidentally caught a kid in the camera or something.
Right.
So I was pretty much playing that card like, well, if they say they didn't want to be in it and they're on the video, they signed a media release.